Hello everybody, Scotswold here and welcome back. Oh my goodness, my camera's in the wrong position. Welcome back to a game from Duos and Dark Halls, the team tournament for Fury of Dracula. And this is a big one, people. We got the semi-final match between Snuffaluffagus playing as the Hunters and Pizzawizard playing as Dracula. And that caught me off guard. I thought Pizzawizard was going to be as Hunters. I didn't look at the spreadsheet. So it caught me off guard when I suddenly realised in the lobby that Pizzawizard is Dracula. We'll talk all about the ramifications of that in a second. But for this video, I've got a very special guest with me in the commentary booth, one of the newer members to the community. We've done a couple of things on my channel already, but Combat Wombat was supposed to be streaming this game, and then last minute passed all the responsibility to me. But there you go. We had a chance to showcase this game to 1.3k viewers or subscribers on your YouTube. You bailed from your responsibilities. How dare you? No, I'm only joking. Combat
I
Wombat's
did, I
here.
did.
Welcome in.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy to be here and thank you for covering my streaming obligations.
That's all right. So you'll be here as long as you can be here for, I guess.
Got about a little bit over an hour, so we should be in good shape.
Decent. All right, I'm gonna get a prediction going already, people. Feel free to wager your channel points on who you think is going to win between Snuffleupagus and Pizzawizard. Also, we're going to go through all the week one supplying shenanigans, as per usual. If there's anything wrong with the audio setup, please let me know in chat. And just let you know, comment one, but you might end up getting interrupted by some sound effect or whatever. That's people redeem.
Happy to do it. The Twitch streaming platform is new to me. I usually do mine on YouTube.
Same with me, but this is the first time I'm doing it on Twitch, and I like it. But yeah, it can be a bit wacky, especially I've not done many co-commentaries, and it can just end up where my if I see something's going to pop up on the screen, I can just suddenly stop, but you will just be talking, and something will come up onto the screen, and you'll have no idea. So, apologies in
Love it.
advance.
Love it.
Well, while the fog gets discarded, and they just keep supplying up, how was your own tournament experience? Obviously, you were participating in this tournament too, alongside Card Don't Shoot. You were plotting to punch. That was your team name. How did you find your whole experience being here in the community in your first tournament and all that stuff? Tell us all about the highs and
So
lows.
So I think my first game of Dracula ever was probably 2 weeks before the tournament started, and then so it was quite the deep end to get thrown into, I think. It was came here originally thanks to Strider 656's videos where he would post an occasional Dracula game. If you guys don't subscribe to Strider 656, he's got some great War of the Ring content, very good Dracula content as well. Brought me over here, just ended up buying the board game at a local board game store here, played a couple of games, liked it, and then ended up finding the Discord community. So definitely recommend people joining that up if they haven't already.
Oh, excellent. I'll thank you for the plug-in. Yeah, we're very happy to have you. It's really great that we got these players from different games, albeit from like a similar sort of strategic depth and things, but obviously different theme and vibe and things coming in here and be able to find your way. And obviously you got your own YouTube channel, so yeah, everyone who's watching this on Twitch, you won't be able to see this, but if you're seeing this on YouTube, or if you go onto any of my recent Fury of Dracula videos on YouTube, go into the description of the videos and you'll find links to all the people who record games from the Fury of Dracula community, including Strider656 and your good self, Combat Wombat. So yeah, please feel free to go over there, everybody, and show some love.
Have to give props to all the Dracula streamers in general. I feel like, and this is all just me making things up off the top of my head. I feel like the Rebellion community, numbers wise, is quite a bit larger, but there's very few people that stream games off that. Whereas the Dracula community, you've got a number of streamers and lots of great content. It really helped with picking up some of the nuances of this game early on.
Ah, that's great to hear. Yeah, I'm in a similar boat with like the Wingspan community. Maybe Determinate might be able to agree. Like, it's a huge community. I don't know what the Rebellion community is like, but in Wingspan you got like maybe they're not all active, but you're looking at like 2,000 people in the tournament server, and you know they could easily get tournaments of 120 people plus, always on the go. But there's maybe half a dozen people who maybe record or stream regularly, and maybe that's an overestimation as well. So yeah, it's just kind of interesting. Um, it just sort of kind of ended up that way. I did a lot in the very first tournament, and then oh, we found him. Classic Pizzawizard strats.
No, now, is that a respectful play or is that a non-respectful play for Pizzawizard to pick Amsterdam here?
Oh no, that's not about respect. That's just force of habit.
Ah,
Is that he's saying I'm nothing but predictable? Oh, what a surprise! It's always Athens, unless it's Pizza Wizard. Then it's always Amsterdam. That's the meme.
always Amsterdam.
Oh dear. So yeah, I did a lot of streaming in the first tournament, and I guess it just people joined me for co-coms, and there were a lot of matches. Then, especially from the American side, I just can't record because just the timings don't work out. So then maybe a little bit of not pressuring from my side, but there was a lot of enthusiasm from other people to record. Normally, I think actually for this tournament, I feel like not many games have been recorded so much. I think just because maybe I'm not pressuring people as much to record, but in the League of Dracula, it was like almost every day. Right, here are the games. Who's recording? Blah, blah, blah. We had just so many recordings. It was ridiculous. We had more recordings than games by the end, just because people would be recording first-person perspective, neutral perspectives, and there was a lot of stuff going on. But yeah,
Very good, very good.
but
What so let's see. Pizza Wizard likes Amsterdam, and I'm assuming that's because it is roughly as far away as Athens is from most of the hunters, even though it's in a more centralized location. Is that the concept there?
yeah, it's a little bit of an awkward one to get to because you're off a rail line, right? So that's really a key thing. It is an extremity. I mean, the thing is with it, if Gadami or Mina go up, it's not so much that it is hard to get to. Depends on when it's discovered and ticket situations and the like. You can reach it, but the problem is, especially if it's a hide, you need to send multiple hunters, which then means that is not possible sometimes. And also because you get Mina, Gadami, and Sua to concentrate in the center of the map, and it then allows Dracula a lot of space to wolf form east, wolf form west, go down into the boot of Italy. He can kind of do what he wants because the hunters are drawn into one area of the map and leaves everything as open for a bit.
For
Um,
the I will repost this on my channel, so maybe I'll give a very high level overview for some of the Rebellion watchers who might be seeing their first game here, so they can sort of follow along. The general idea is that it is four hunters that are trying to hunt one player playing Dracula. Dracula wins by getting this bar on the left hand side up to 13. You score points by what's called maturing vampires, basically by remaining hidden for long enough or by killing hunters. And the hunters win by killing Dracula. So it's a little bit of a hidden movement plus tricky card play. And I think the combat system will be particularly interesting to those people who play Rebellion once we see some combats come up here too. So a lot more to the game than that, but that is generally what is going on here. The hunters are drawing items like weapons and dogs and things that are going to help them find Dracula. Dracula is planting cards in these locations that are going to damage and or confuse the hunters. So each card that's placed down at the top of the map here is a spot that Dracula is has been in. So he is walking from connected location to connected location.
Exactly. And the thing is, like, Dracula's leaving these additional cards along with the location, which are encounters, which he said they're there to damage the hunters. But the hunters also have to go and deal with those encounters, because if those encounters survive for long enough and they fall off the other side of the trail, then even worse shit happens.
Yeah,
Things get
yeah.
way worse. So it's an advantage for the hunters to deal with it, but then they have to dedicate time. The way I feel about this game, yeah, it's asymmetry. Yep, there's hidden movement. Yes, there's rock paper scissors combat and all that good stuff. But I view it as a resource management game, especially from the hunter side. Right, you've got X number of turns to do X number of actions and achieve your objective. Find Dracula, get on his space, and kill him. That's the hunter's objective. You got to try and kill Dracula before he gets up that influence bar on the left hand side up to 13. Um, so you have to be extremely efficient with all your turns, but the kind of cool thing, unlike a game like Wingspans, I know there's some people in my Twitch chat who are Wingspan players, is the number of turns per game is not set. you don't know how many actions you're going to get, because as vampires mature and hunters die and things, the game can accelerate quicker, or it can be a really slow, long game. It just depends. In our community, in general, most, especially if we're talking about like the higher level with more experienced players, most Draculas do not win until it reaches the 4th week of the game. There's a timing system with day and night cycles. Dracula normally would not win until the 4th week of the game, because it's very difficult. If you're against a very efficient hunter player, it's very difficult for Dracula to get enough vampire matures and things. So,
what do you take of what's your take of the position currently with Dracula being found so early? What do you suspect he has down in Amsterdam? And then explain the wolf form that just happened here.
okay. I feel the wolf form's a little bit rushed, because the wolf form. So, the trick here with Amsterdam is you want to try and force these hunters to get into this extremity location and get them away from the rest of Dracula's trail for a bit, and force them to dedicate time to this and not supplying or finding other locations. The rumor token really helps with this, because it makes the threat even more severe. It might not be a vampire, it could be something fake and more benign, but if the hunters don't check it and then they go into Amsterdam matures, it's a vampire. Suddenly Dracula's halfway to victory. You can recover from 7 influence down, but that is putting a lot of pressure on the hunter side. I guess the wolf form is just to try to make it a little bit less certain about where Dracula currently is. Maybe there's a risk that if Dracula just goes into Strasbourg, which would be the normal thing you do from Amsterdam, go Amsterdam into Brussels or Cologne, and then into Strasbourg, and then you wolf form, because Strasbourg has lots of connections. But maybe he was worried about a potential, Seward jumping in on him. Maybe even if Gadami or Mina have sense of emergency or renewed vigor, there could be a really early fight, and that could go really badly for him. So, yeah, I don't like this early wolf form because it's not as strong from Brussels or Cologne, but it might confuse Snuff a little bit, because Snuff wouldn't have been expecting a wolf form that early. But then again, wolf form is on cooldown now. So,
Yeah, that makes sense.
okay, so this is interesting. Because of Jonathan Harker, we know that Cologne is on the trail, so it went Amsterdam, Brussels, and then wolf form. But if Dracula's wolf form through Seward, now Seward's got a bit of a problem. Does Seward backtrack to find the wolf form location, or does he go into Amsterdam? Van Helsing's having to use excellent weather to get into Amsterdam. So, these two hunters are staying put. Gadami and Mina are staying put, which I think is a good idea, and you block this sort of side of the board and keep supplying up. But obviously excellent weather's being used, Seward's having to sort of... Maybe even if Seward just stays put in Paris, it does restrict him a little bit. So, yeah.
Interesting decision to not misdirect Cologne, I guess, unless you value the layer, but if you had misdirected Cologne, then the wolf form options would have been extended a little bit. Am I thinking about that wrong? Or maybe it
No,
doesn't matter
no.
much because it's just one extra move.
I mean, the thing is, a wolf form from Cologne isn't very strong, because Brussels gets you just as far.
Got it.
Um,
Yep.
because of the way the connections on the board work. A wolf form from Cologne isn't very advantageous. In other situations, yeah. If there's a choice of 2, the possible locations could be really extended. But then, where can you get to from a wolf form from Cologne that you can't get to from Brussels?
Mhm.
Berlin. Dracula's not wanting to go to Berlin, because he's going to then get
Yeah.
sort of trapped by these two sitting in Vienna. So it doesn't
Yeah.
really matter. Now he gets high scabs anyway. I think the layer is a lot more especially if Pizzawizard 4, there's a good chance that Amsterdam's going to get scouted. There's no point misdirecting. Let's just get the extra layer going, get that encounter economy moving.
Makes sense.
Okay, good checks. Checking for the wolf form location. That's very good from Snuff. I'm still so confused that Snuff is playing Hunters. I don't understand what's happening here. Pizzawizard has played Hunters almost for the whole tournament. I don't know why now this suddenly... I don't know the conversation, because the way this semi-final worked is to pick these roles. Pizzawizard and Strider, who are one team, and Snuff and Otters are another team, are against each other. But because Pizzawizard and Strider finished in first place, they had the choice to either pick the roles first or defer it, let Snuff and Ondrazop pick, and then Maybe they let them pick and they saw that Snuff picked hunters. I don't actually know. I need to read the thread in the
Mm,
Discord. That's very interesting to me. How
interesting.
Pizza
Yeah.
Wizard is not on his statistically strongest role, and Strider's been playing Dracula for almost the whole tournament, so he's not going to be on the role that he's been playing most of during the tournament. So this is very. Oh, there's Dark Call. Oh, yo, yo, here come the shenanigans, people.
So when
Also,
it pulls up waiting for Pizza Wizard, which cards immediately come to mind
oh,
as the ones he likely drew there?
was there a prompt? Okay, so it has to be something that he can activate immediately. So something like a Summon Storms, a Roadblock. Are there any
Mm,
others? Hidden Schemes, I think it can be played immediately. Or maybe it's during the
yeah.
Dracula phase. Ooh. I don't have the library in front. That's the thing. A lot of these cards we don't see very often. Summon
Yep.
Storms or
Yep.
Roadblock would be the two, because there's duplicates of those cards.
Got it.
I'm not seeing a thread. Oh, no, there's the thread. Okay. I'm staying away from the game for a bit. Also, I just want to say quickly hello to Yaz in the chat and hello to Simon Diamond Gamer in the chat. Hello, hello. I wasn't ignoring you. Are you playing with other players and duos who are also hunting the Dracula? No, so we always play 1v1 just because it's very difficult to organize 2v1 or 3v1 or 4v1 games. But the way we're doing is we're playing in pairs. So we've got Snuff and Pizza Wizard playing tonight, and then on a different night, then the teammates, Strider 656 and Ondrazot will play against each other, but they'll be on reverse roles. And then if it's a tie 1-1, then there'll have to be a third match, and each team will nominate one player to play. But we'll deal with this first match first and see what's happening. I'm just trying to read the thread. Where is this all about?
I will make a quick plug for the game. If you own the physical copy, or if you're able to arrange it in over online, it is a blast to play with 5 players and have 4 hunters and 1 Dracula all sitting around the same table.
Oh,
It's a very fun game, even though it is probably slightly tilted in Drac's favor in that instance. It's a great experience to have a multiplayer game going.
yeah. Because when you play with a group, if it's 2 on hunters or 3 people on hunters or 4 people on hunters, there's always 4 hunter play characters, but we can play with one. So in this case, Snuff is controlling all 4 hunters at the same time. But if you're playing in a group, then obviously then any strategy communication that happens, Dracula gets to hear everything unless it's a secret trade. So it's a really cool dynamic where Dracula can hear what's going on. Obviously, in this situation, Dracula can't get that, but there are some times when you can gain subtle bits of information about how the hunters are posturing. If you see them waiting on a certain dawn or dusk prompt, you might realize they have something. But it is a bit more difficult. But the harder thing for the hunter is Snuff has to control 4 hunters at the same time, and that is a really, really steep learning curve initially. Once you get into it, you're good. Hey, Sophie.
So from a game perspective, Seward just made it to Amsterdam, revealed the aristocratic vampire, which is a vampire that would have scored points had it not been dealt with just in the nick of time.
Mm-hmm.
And that vampire is now dead, and the hunters are back to Drac, trying to figure out where Drac went to.
Right. So, but you had to obviously then 2 hunters to deal with that. Van Helsing got delayed with the bats, but then is now dealing with Brussels. That's good. They found Geneva. That's really nice. I guess the thing that once Non and Clermont-Ferrand were ruled out, then Geneva is the most logical place to check next. So yeah, Snuff's doing a good job here. So the problem is the physical board game, as far as I'm aware, is out of print. You might be able to get some second-hand. There are 4 editions of the game. The digital edition is based on the 4th edition of the game, but 3rd and 4th are basically the same. There's a couple of small things. Oh, there are dogs and a steak.
I managed to pick up a used copy that just happened to get turned in at my local game store. I saw it sitting on the shelves for 40 US, and I was like, oh, that's an excellent
That's
deal for an out of print game that I've been meaning to play.
that's pretty good. Yeah, it's I first discovered the game through Tabletop, and that's when it was the 3rd edition, the Tabletop series with Will Wheaton. But it then sold out because it was so popular, and I had to wait for ages for the 4th edition. As soon as the 4th edition came out, I bought it, played it with my friends twice, and they hated it. And then I discovered the digital edition. So yeah, if you can't find the physical edition, then I really recommend the digital edition. Is it got overhauled last year, so there's been a lot of quality of life improvements. There's now a community of people. If you're interested in the Twitch stream, there is a link to the Discord. If you're interested, I can ping the link in there to you. It's also in the main menu of the game, so feel free to join us. You don't have to play in tournaments if you don't want to. You can play friendly games with us, and we're very happy to help you
It is
out.
also worth pointing out that the single player option in the digital is awful. So
Yes, that's yeah.
don't buy it if that's your goal.
Exactly. Do it just to learn the cards, but don't do it to learn the game. Okay, so that link you just got up, Simon, is my private Discord. You're welcome to join that if you want, but that's separate to Fury of Dracula. That's for my streaming stuff. But I can get the Nomad Games Discord. Actually, it's down below. If you go below the Twitch feed, you'll find there'll be a link somewhere saying Nomad Discord, and you can click that. So yeah.
All right, so where back to the game. Where do you think Dracula is hanging out right now? He went to Geneva, moved one space, felt safe enough to Dark Call, and then has been strolling around after that.
Well, yeah, I was gonna before that search came up, I was gonna say Dark Call has to be in Marseille, and then because you wouldn't do a Dark Call in somewhere like Zurich, where someone could have easily moved from Vienna into you. You can't get from
Mm.
Geneva to Milan, so the Dark Call would have to be in Clermont-Ferrand or Marseille. I don't know when the scouts were done, depending on the timing of that. So Marseille seems the most obvious, then Toulouse, and maybe she's going to go into Iberia. Problem is, the hunters can get into Iberia pretty quickly because of the good rail lines, and then it's not a really good extremity location. It depends if they can deal with all this stuff on the trail. But it
I
looks like
I noticed that when I first started my games, as I almost always started in Spain because it felt like it was far away. But the rails that are connected to it, for those of you who may not be making the connection, Dracula can move along red lines, which are roads. Yellow rails on the eastern side of the map are considered like less functional rail lines. You can typically move one or two at a time. But the white rail lines on the west side have movement values of one, two, or three. So you can really zip along the left side of the map a lot more efficiently than you can on the right side. But when I first started, I always started in Spain, and then very rarely did it work out
right.
unless I was playing Pizzawizard.
Yeah, because he leaves that open because he starts stood in Bordeaux. But then, so I saw quite a lot of games in the tournament. A lot of Draculas were starting in the east, just because movement is more tricky early. If they don't draw if the whoever's starting in Vienna doesn't draw early horses, you can really manipulate the hunter movement and push them around a little bit and really capitalize. Snuff played against me as Dracula, and I was playing on hunters, and he was able to abuse the fact that I had to use express movement cards to deal with his early encounters, and I'd left the sort of Munich Vienna spaces open. He just walked through like it was nothing, and then by the time I got there, it was too late, and Van Helsing died, and blah blah blah. So yeah, you can really manipulate hunters in the east if things don't quite fall the hunter's way a little bit. He has seduction. I don't think we know that. There was Combat Wombat seemed to think there was a prompt when Dracula drew the card. So we think it might be a roadblock or a summon storms, which might be a reason why he might be going to Iberia because he'll be looking to. That's a very quick ambush. He might be wanting to leave from Spain and then maybe go into Britannia and then put the storms all around the UK and stop the Huns from getting. Especially since there was an excellent weather got used early to deal with Amsterdam. So there's a lot of things going
So
on here. It's just Snuff clearing the trail, but there's a lot of thinking about trying to do this efficiently and where is Drac going, and then how do the Hunters prepare for the next phase of the game. The Hunters aren't going to kill him now, unless Pizzawizard plays very risky. It's going to be what happens next. Um, is Greece part of
So
the
in
meta?
ambush in Marseille, does that suggest that what Seward's sitting on is not actually a vampire?
Possibly. Unless he thinks he can bait Sud into a night fight. He might want to try and get. He
Hmm.
knows that Van Helsing has dogs and steak, and I think must be a horse, or maybe not a horse, maybe there's something else. So he might try and get a fang point out of this, they blow the stage on
before
boss
it
save.
before it clears the trail. Yeah,
Yeah,
that makes
exactly.
sense. Okay.
Yeah. There's a fang. Oh, good dodge. Is Greece part of the meta? Yes, we have a joke in this game, in this community, that it's always Athens. Unless it's Amsterdam. That's the joke. It's always one of those two locations. Athens is a great extremity location for early on and also late game, because it can be a bit hard for the hunters to get to. It's hard. It's harder to avoid late game. In terms of the hunters have fast horses, which is a card that allows them to move on roads very efficiently, but it's not on the rail line, which is very nice. So yeah, definitely you do see Dracula's often starting around here, but then the meta shifts a lot. In the sense, if Dracula starts in Athens or any location for that matter all the time, then it always gets scouted. So then Dracula has to shift his location so he doesn't get scouted. So that the meta is always kind of flipping and flopping a little bit. Same with the items, right? Dracula will try to hide in certain situations. Oh, there's another vamp. um, or oh, nice escape route. But she has no events now, so she's a little bit weak. There was a time when I started in the community that Dracula would always put down a hide card with his first encounter and put a saboteur to try and delay the hunters. Then the hunters always took dogs to counter that. So then Dracula's like, well, there's no point me putting down a saboteur because they've got dogs all the time. So let's play something else. Let's play bat. Don't play hide. So yeah, the meta naturally kind of ebbs and flows a little bit, but also then every player will have their own personality, right? So they'll inject that into the game. So it's never the same game, even though you're playing on the same board with the same characters, with the same items, with the same events. The order which they come out, and that really dictates the narrative of the game.
Some of the once I got through the early base game, so like my put it in perspective, I think I only had just learned at the tournament that how horses worked, like in terms of understanding that concept. So
Mm,
it took a while to get some of the base fundamentals down. But once I had some of those down, really the kind of next level that I've been working on, Dracula always has about the same power level. He's never significantly, he's rarely more powerful later in the game than he is earlier in the game because his encounter cards don't scale typically, with some exceptions, until like they just don't get harder the more the game goes on. A bodyguards on turn one is the same as bodyguards on turn 20. The
yeah,
hunters, on the other hand, get dramatically more powerful the longer they supply and the more stuff that they get. But there is this nuance where in the mid game, if Dracula can really exhaust the hunters and do a lot of damage, you can enter an end game state where the hunters, while they may still be alive, are low on weapons, are low on other items, and just have to, they're weaker, I guess. So they can go from very powerful to weaker than when they started.
yeah, exactly. A lot depends on how the hunter player manages, like again, I'm thinking about the resource management perspective, how they manage all their moves. If they're constantly moving around so they can't supply up, they can't heal, then they will not weaken. Well, that's a strong discard. They will weaken a little bit as the game goes on, and Dracula might be able to capitalize on that if they get desperate and make a Hail Mary play and it doesn't work. But if you see a Dracula player or a Hunter player like Pizzawizard, which I'm really surprised that Pizzawizard didn't play Hunters in this matchup, if you see Pizzawizard, has a miraculous ability to play extremely efficiently and supply so damn much. And then as Dracula, you know every event card that's going to get thrown at you. You're going to get the kitchen sink thrown at you, and it's so difficult to survive. Um, so people in my chat saying they don't really know much about the game. We're talking about, yeah, I want to do a Fury of Dracula 101 video. I did record one with Terminator, and then I lost the footage like an idiot. So I want to re-record that. And also say, you've got a couple of minutes, folks. If you want to start wagering some points for some predictions, Pizzawizard's got 99% of the votes at the moment in terms of channel
Oh
points.
boy.
But at the moment, I'd say Snuff's in not a bad position. I'm not saying that Snuff is winning, but he's not in a bad position. He's dealing with the trail. He knows where Dracula is. This vampire is going to be a bit of an issue if there's no stake. But you got a minute or so if you want to keep predicting. If you want to get some channel points wagered, you can win a lot of points if you love a gamble. Nice. And also I saw Simon's message. You're very welcome. How did you find me, Simon? I don't normally find spontaneous Fury of Dracula or people who like Fury of Dracula. So how on earth did you find me? You're very welcome to be here. So we know that Dracula's down here in Iberia. So a lot of now what's going to happen is how much do the hunters commit into Iberia? Because they need to scare Dracula out of there, but at the same time, if they commit too far in, then they're wasting valuable actions. So it'd be interesting. Also, they need the stake, so that's really important. Mina doesn't have any events, so she's Van Helsing only has one. So the hunters are a little bit undersupplied in terms of events at the moment, but they'll might be able to work that out.
Are we officially in the mid game right now, I guess? Is that how you would describe where we're at? We're just about at the end of the first full week, is that right?
Yeah, this is definitely the mid-game now. I always feel that mid-game starts once the first encounter is dealt with. That's when it goes channels into mid-game. Because now you're not just in terms of thematically you're in the middle, but you've got this period now where hunter priority is not as well defined. This is where people, especially early, like newer hunters, get a bit lost because the first week's very easy. You just supply. You find Dracula's fertile location and you go and deal with it. But once you then get into this situation where you're trying to manage two things at once. You're trying to pressure Drac if you can, but also you have to deal with the trail. It's very easy to get wires crossed a little bit, and you don't prioritize the right thing at the right time. It just depends.
So if you're Snuff right now, what are you prioritizing?
Trail, I think, should be priority. I mean, Pizzawizard is in Iberia, so he is basically blocked in by the sea. He can go to sea, but he'll take damage for it, and you want to try and stay on land as much as possible. But Pizzawizard knows as much as anybody that the number of Draculas who have been killed by overstaying one turn too long in Iberia is, it's countless at this point. So if you get a renewed vigor play with chartered carriages and things like that, you could have maybe all 4 hunters on you or 3 of them on you if you're not careful, and then you just die before you get to do anything. So Peter was playing a little bit of a tricky game here in terms of how long he can stay on land safely. But then Snuff wants to try to get him away from here, but also has to be in a position to be able to then find him once he leaves, supplying up enough, dealing with all these encounters in an efficient way. So, yeah. I now remember your name. Yeah, from last night. Yeah. Okay. That's a good bat. Nice bat there. Should I join the Nomad server or the community server? You can do both. We look for friendly games on the Nomad server. The community server is more for memes and tournament organization. That's basically how that functions. But you can join either. You can join both. You're very welcome to. You don't have to be in tournaments anymore. If you ever want the link to the community server, you know where it is. Or if not, you can ping me a private message on Discord and I'll get it to you. There won't be another tournament for quite a while. I need to actually talk with the admin once this tournament has finished. But I would guess it wouldn't be until starting in September, because we normally have 2 tournaments a year. So quite a lot of time to practice up and things if you like this sort of thing. Yeah, so the league phase is finished. Now we're in the semi-final. I saw Sophie was asking, do we, I guess, because now we've got 2 of us in the commentary booth, do we have any personal preference of who wins? I don't know, how do you feel about that Combat Wombat? Do you have any preference?
You know what? When I logged on first, when Snuff and Snuffaluffagus and Pizzawizard were online, I said, "Hello, friends and Pizzawizard." So there we go.
Oh, Damn. Okay, fair enough. Snuff fan. I would probably say Snuffaluffagus as well. I mean, don't get me wrong. I have a huge amount of respect for Pizzawizard. It's nothing personal against him. We've in the last sort of 2 years with all these tournaments, he and I have been going toe to toe a lot of the time. I mean, in the League of Dracula final that we had in the autumn, it was us two against each other. So I've got a huge amount of respect for Pizzawizard. Oh, it's another vamp, and it's a night fight. Yikes. This could be bad. So now Dracula's got maybe a little bit more time here, because if Stewart gets beaten up, he can maybe stay one more turn in Iberia, because he knows that Stewart's not much of a threat. Hey, thanks for subscription, Making. That subscription notification is probably breaking the vibe a little bit, but thank you for that. But I would say Snuffaluffagus.
Go Pizzawizard. Too much history not to cheer.
Hey, okay, Met King is a Pizzawizard fan. Very good. But I would say Snuff too, just because he is probably his team are the underdogs here, because Pizzawizard and Strider finished first by quite a big margin, and then Snuff and Andrazot finished in fourth. So they are underdogs. I do like voting for the underdog a little bit. And also, if Pizzawizard is trying to get knocked out, it means Pizzawizard can't win the tournament. So it makes it even more likely that we'll have a new winner, somebody who's never won before. Obviously, I'll try and do something about that, but I've got my own really difficult semi-final to deal with. So, and obviously, yeah, Gio's got a tough semi-final match to deal with as well. So yeah, so it's gonna be tough. It'll be tough. Oh, fanging all over the place. What's all this about?
double fang.
Natalie said always vote Drac. So what are you saying, Sophie? So when I play my game and I'm playing as hunters, you're gonna vote against me? Oh man. Ah, I can't believe this betrayal. I would say pizza.
I mean, to be fair, Drac is just an old man running around, and there's four people trying to punch him to death. Like you kind of got to be Team Drac, I think.
Oh, I guess it's called Fury of Dracula, right? It's not called Fury of the Hunters. Yeah, I'd say, yeah, it's kind of interesting. Drac is kind of the underdog because of, yeah, Mekin was saying it, because of the nature of him. He's not this all-powerful thing. He can be very powerful in the right situations, but he's also a bit of a predator. He likes to feed off the weak. He can't just go, right, I'm going to take 4 hunters on. He can't do that. That's not how Dracula works. He has to pick 1v1 fights and things like that. An old man trying to be Emo. Is your semi-final against someone that you know about playing against? I mean, it's probably the best Dracula in the whole community, so that's not ideal. But at the same time, if I think about all the teams that came into the top 4 apart from my team, I lost against Snuff when he was playing as Drac against me. I lost against Strider when he was playing Dracula against me. I lost against Wizard. So I lost against all 3 of these teams when I was playing on the Hunter side. So all 3 would be difficult. But if I had to choose which one I was going to play again, Wizard would probably be the last. Oh, so I know to bet for you since you're the underdog. I mean, at the same time, I've also won all the tournaments I've entered, so maybe I'm not the underdog either. I guess it depends. Based on current form, I would be the underdog. Probably based on history, I probably wouldn't be. So I guess it depends on what you view as more important. I guess I'd say form is more important. So yes, I'm the underdog. Please vote for me.
So we've got a little bit of a nuance here. So there are 3 stakes in the discard pile currently.
Ooh.
And then there are 2 vampires on the trail. So do we think Seward has a stake here? Oh, maybe he's looking for it right now.
He's looking for. Oh, he's resetting the deck.
Oh no, somebody has to have it, right? Because there were no other draws left. So somebody has to have the stake.
Somebody else has it, but it's not Seward, because Seward would not use Lucky Find.
Yep.
Oh, unless he's trying to get Holy Bullets to kill this one, then he stakes the Madrid one.
Okay. Yep, I could see that. Yep. It feels like he's trying to kill it, but the fact that he discarded a rifle makes me think maybe that's not the case.
Yeah.
I'd probably open Fangs here, I would think.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, try and get at least a point out of it. Ooh, that's even better, because Seward's stuck in the combat. Maybe he's scared of the plotting.
Yeah, well, always be scared of the plotting.
But this is really interesting too, because even if we, well, let me say on this, I've got a really terrible habit of looking at the map, because I don't really care about combat very much. I always want to look at the map state, but
Mm.
I'll be really good for the viewers who may watch this for the first time. We'll stay in the combat. So it's basically combat is rock, paper, scissors. You compare the symbols on Dracula's card with the Hunter's card. Dracula's card always triggers first. If the symbols match, then Dracula's card is cancelled, and then the Hunter card does whatever it does. If they don't match, then Dracula's card triggers first. So that, and then the Hunter card, if it is able to trigger, will still trigger. So we got a strength into a pistol. Bullets, surely. Has to be bullets, right?
Has to be bullets at this point. Yeah.
So strength triggered, so that did 2 damage to Seward, and strength cancels weapons. So that's why the pistol didn't do anything.
So now probably mesmerize, I would think here.
Yeah, I think that's a safe shout. Or maybe escape is missed. But if you can beat up Seward
Yeah,
even
possible.
more,
Yeah.
this could be really bad if Seward takes 2 more
You'll
damage.
notice at the top, this is round 4 of 6, total of 6. Oh, host.
Whoa!
uh, and then a total of 6 rounds can go by. This host will kill the vampire, but because host does not cancel strength, the card itself still goes off. So which is why the vampire did 2 damage to Seward, and then Seward killed the vampire.
Right. And the thing is, because both fangs had got used early, that's why. Had both fangs been used? Yeah, both fangs, because there's a dodge and then
Yes,
the
they
punch.
had.
Right.
Yeah.
So, because of that. No. Yes, yeah, yeah. So he knew that
Correct. Yeah.
Seward was very much safe to play that Heavenly Host. Yeah,
And there
CG.
are no
Yeah.
Drac cards that do more than 2 damage during a day fight. It's worth pointing out that if the fight happens in the evening, Dracula becomes significantly more powerful, and so do all the vampires.
Yeah, exactly. So things like claws would do double damage. Hunters can get bitten at night as well, which gives Dracula a little bit of influence. Not as good as killing, but it reveals information to Dracula. And also, Mina already has a bite. So if she got bitten again, then she would die instantly. You get 2 bites and then you die, because Mina's already got one. If she gets bitten once, then she's out. She's out for the count. That's kind of interesting. So Seward took a lot of damage. So what Snuff's been doing here is Snuff basically said to Pizzawizard, telepathically, alright, you can just do what you want in Iberia. I don't care. I'm going to deal with the trail instead and not try to fight you and get baited into a bad situation. But it's good for Snuff, because this vampire's not going to mature. Even if Madrid matures, that's only 3 points. It's not got a Rumour token, it's only a new vamp, so it's only 3 points. That's pretty good for the Hunters, I would say. They can go back and they
So
can
now
fight.
we're at the stage of the game where Drac felt cornered. He went into the water, and it's worth pointing out that when Dracula goes in the water, he takes damage. So 2 points for the first water space, and generally one for each additional.
Yep.
So we pretty much know, I guess we don't actually know where he is. He could be in the South Atlantic or he could be in the Mediterranean.
Yep.
But and so then as he moves through the sea, he cannot be discovered in the sea, and he also cannot lay encounters in the sea. So the longer Drac stays at sea, the weaker he gets, and the longer the hunters have to kind of heal and resupply.
Oh, and that's huge, because now we know he's in South Atlantic, because the last sea space was Lisbon.
Yep,
So
correct. Yep.
he can't be discovered in the sea by a hunter moving into that sea space, but there are cards which can reveal what sea it is. So there are some ways you can do it. Yeah,
Do you think Snuff goes to clear the Madrid vampire, or do you think he lets it mature, which, even though it's only 3 points, will also take feed off the trail?
well, okay, it looks like Snuff's made his decision. He's backtracking.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea, because Seward's weak. It depends on what Snuff has, also in terms of events. I know we're saying he's a little bit undersupplied, but if Snuff has already good to go some really powerful event that will let him find Dracula, maybe he's just thinking, well, I'll give Dracula 3 points once this new vamp matures, but I can find him really quickly, and then he's under so much pressure and you won't have time to feed again, and all this sort of thing. So Simon was asking in the chat, so what maturing means is, so if that reckless vampire that was in Saragossa, which got killed in the last combat, if it was still alive now, it would be sitting here. When Dracula now takes his turn, Saragossa will fall off the edge of the trail, and the encounter card on that space, in that case the vampire would mature, and in the case of a vampire you gain influence points, which is the bar on the left hand side, and that's Dracula's win condition. This new vampire, which is probably going to mature, says when it falls off the trail, that's what this bottom section is, you advance the influence track by 3 points, and also removes the next 3 spaces from the trail. So it gives the Huns a little bit of breathing space. There are other types of encounter cards which are not vampires, and they have different mature effects, but the only type of mature that gives you points are vampires, nothing else. Killing hunters would also give you points as well. So yeah, so it looks like Snuff's going to let this mature. Honestly, I agree with him. I think this is fine. If the stake's in such an awkward position, if the events that Snuff has aren't particularly strong, then Snuff would just rather let Dracula damage himself, take 3 points, so he's up to 5 total. Maybe as Vampire Lair, which may be another reason why he's saving the stake, because he knows he can just take 2 off instantly, and he's in a better position here in terms of he's supplying up, he's healing, he's trading, he's gathering that strength that you were talking about earlier. I think the correct choice is
my current end game. So I have a very strong preference for playing Dracula. Oh, and then that's a pretty good card to draw. Okay. So I have a fairly strong preference for Dracula, and I also have a tendency in the end game to not go to C when I should go to C. Like, I feel like if I was in Pizzawizard's position there, I would just move and hope somebody comes at me and get a lucky hunter kill. But it is very difficult for Drac to get a kill on a relatively healthy hunter, even if it's a one-on-one fight.
Yep, there's the vampire though. Yep, no, I completely agree with you. You can make it work, especially with Mina, because she can get bitten and things. Nah, it's not BS Strider, it's just Scotsword strats, that is. So yeah, so that was a really clutch pull there of Evil Presence. So Evil Presence detects if Dracula is in an adjacent space, not in the same space, but in an adjacent space, and it works on C zones, which is very interesting. So we discovered he was adjacent to Van Helsing and Dalming, which means we know that Dracula's in the Mediterranean. So Dracula is moving eastwards. Now the hunters do not have to guess, is Dracula moving north or is he going east? He's going east. We know exactly where he's going. Strider's saying that he shouldn't mature this vampire. Maybe there might be a hoax or something. If there's a hoax and then a vampire behind it, then maybe you don't mature it. That wouldn't be a bad idea. Grease strat? Yeah, he might be going all the way over there, but he's going to take a lot of damage to do so. He might want to land. Maybe in southern Italy first? It's difficult. It's a bit of a tricky one. Eventually, Dracula might end up having to go that way, because there's only one copy of every location on the map. So if Mediterranean's on the trail, and Tyrrhenian's on the trail, Dracula can't go back there until it's fallen off the end of the trail again. So yeah, he can't move westward for a long time, so it's very possible he's going to move this way. He gets feedback. That is also a good call, a very important point here. If he matured this, he would get the feedback. And the problem is, the thing is, he would be discovered, because we know he's in the Mediterranean. So if he moves to sea again, we know it's the Tyrrhenian, because he can't go backwards to South Atlantic, because South Atlantic is here. So then if he goes again, we know it's Ionian. So we know exactly where Dracula's going here. There's no unpredictability about where Dracula's moving. The only way that Dracula can make this unpredictable is if he lands from Tyrrhenian, and it could be 4 possible locations, or he wolf forms, which means he goes into the port city and then adjacent to the port city. So he could wolf form from Ionian into Sofia, for example. So he skips over Salonika. So he went in one trip. Oh, okay. Yeah, if he just kept going. No, he's landed. Okay. So we know he is in a Mediterranean port city. So he's either in Cagliari, or he's in Barcelona, or he's in Alicante. Has to be Cagliari, right? It'd be so risky to. He knows there's only one excellent weather. This is kind of the thing you need. This is very hard for new players, but once you've played this long enough, you know how many events there are. There are 2 copies of Excellent Weather, which allow you to move 2C spaces as hunters, or to make 2C movements. So you've got Excellent Weather, you can go from Marseille all the way to Cagliari in one move, which is very powerful. Otherwise, you just normally just enter the sea, and then you have to move onto Cagliari the next day. But because there's only one of them, then Pizzawizard knows there's only one hunter that can jump on him, maximum. Maybe he's playing very risky. Maybe he's in Alicante or in Barcelona. No worries, Sophie. Thanks for joining.
It is also worth pointing out that if it is Cagliari and he does plan on going back into the sea again, you take 2 points of damage for entering the sea and 1 point of damage for staying in the sea.
Yes.
So it would be extra damage.
So yeah, okay, this is a very good point here. So what's happening here is if Lisbon is a vampire and it matures, and if Dracula stays on Cagliari long enough, for once Lisbon matures, it will clear the Mediterranean space. So then Dracula could go backwards in the other direction again. So if you mature a vampire, you remove the next 3 spaces. But it looks like Mina and Seward are maybe going to deal with Lisbon, or they're going to psychic scan. So Mina has a special ability where she can scan a region, so we can work out if he's in Iberia or he's in Cagliari. So here it comes. Nope, he's in Cagliari. He's right here. We know exactly where Dracula is. So
Cagliari. Nobody can resist it.
Oh, look, there's the hoax. Is a hoax mature? Right, so Dracula's going to get one of these nasty event cards in here, and depending on what it is... That's a lot of them, by the way. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So there's bound to be something good for that. And Dracula's already got a card as well. Yeah, that's very strong.
All right, with your expertise at the moment, we are entering what we're about 4 days left before we get into Fury phase. However, Drac has 0 points but 2 Drac cards. Where's the advantage at this point?
I'd say the advantage is with Dracula, because he's going to have 2 events, one of which is almost going to be unknown to the hunters. He hasn't played them. And especially if Lisbon matures and it is a vampire, and Dracula can then leave Cagliari in either direction, now the hunters have a lot of work to do to try and work out where he's going, and they don't have a huge amount of time. And then also there's a rumor token here they have to deal with. They can't let that mature. It's a tricky one. I would say actually now, it all depends on what card is available to Pizzawizard, and also what happens with this Lisbon thing. If Lisbon doesn't mature, then I would say the advantage might still be on the hunter side, but they've sent 2 horses in this direction, which I don't really like. But they had to kind of do it, to do the scan. A lot also depends, because we don't know what events Snuff has either, which makes it very hard from a spectator perspective to deal with. I would say... I would say if Lisbon matures and it is a vampire and it wipes this whole trail, I would say Dracula has the advantage. He doesn't have any points, which is definitely important, but then if this is a vampire, there'll be 3 or 4 points, and then you got this thing behind it that in Cagliari that has to get dealt with.
Do you think Pizzawizard played that order of encounters in that particular way to come up with this result, or do you think he stumbled into it? Not to take anything away from Pizzawizard, I just know sometimes when I put encounters on the trail and they happen to work out, I'm like, it's almost like I planned it to go like that. But you led with a new vampire, which isn't very valuable and is hard to kill, and you figured all the stakes would be gone at that point.
Right.
Ending up layering it instead of maturing it for the purpose of grabbing a hoax, which could be like a game-breaking card. And then I feel like if this is an aristocratic or something, that's like masterful play there, if that's the case.
Yeah, there's definitely an argument at times that the rumor token vampire in Saragossa got dealt with, and on the face of it, we would say, oh, that's really good for Snuff, and it is really good for Snuff. But a lot of time, what Draculas are able to do is if they sacrifice one vampire and then they allow everything else thereafter to mature, can actually be more devastating. It depends on how it works and the tempo of the game and everything. But the thing is, I don't disagree with Snuff's decision to not deal with it either. If Snuff felt he didn't have the resources to deal with the 3 encounters that were left, and also to make sure that he got out of Iberia quickly enough, supplying up, moving, healing, all that stuff, then I understand that decision. But Snuff took a risk, and the risk has now not panned out for him. My gut feeling would be, if I saw the Madrid vampire not mature, that would make me suspicious that there was something after it that is even more valuable. But the problem is, by that point, you've already vacated Iberia, so trying to get back in would be very difficult. And it could have easily been Cardiff with a hide. So then maybe it wouldn't have been possible to deal with it. It's a very difficult situation to be in, and maybe Pizzawizard did kind of stumble in. It also depends on when he drew those encounters. Did he go into Iberia knowing that was going to be the plan, or was it just he put down a vampire? Oh, here's another vampire, right? Let's put another vampire. Oh, look, there's the hoax. They might just come up naturally in that order. We don't really know,
right?
Unless we talk to them, we wouldn't know how that panned out. Whatever way it happened, if it was planned masterfully or if it just kind of stumbled that way, Pizzawizard's made it work for him. So that's kind of it's kind of what we talked about before. Dracula is the sort of advantageous, or not advantageous one, but the sort of the cunning one a little bit, and sometimes has to be a little bit of opportunistic. If something presents itself, he has to take advantage and take that opportunity. So if the encounter just suddenly fell for him in that moment, Pizzawizard might suddenly clicked and went, I can do this. I'm not saying he was in Amsterdam and he knew his plan. He might have done, but it might have just been that the encounters fell for him just at the right time and decided, right, I'm going to do it this way, and this might work.
That makes sense.
He might have also thrown down the hoax thinking, well, somebody might go into that first, they get delayed by it, and then the vampire behind it matures in Lisbon, if it is going to be a vampire in Lisbon. It could also be a fog in Lisbon, because there was a threat of maybe multiple hunters moving in.
True, yep.
Will you talk to them later?
And if fog does mature here, you could plop that fog on 36 and lock up both of those hunters while you continued your journey eastward, and maybe that's good too.
No, because you can only put the fog down in the region where it matured. So you can't put it anywhere, unfortunately.
Got it. Yeah.
Okay, it looks like we've had a little bit of a crash. We've had a lot of crashes lately, and this is a little bit disconcerting. But yeah, we're going to have to bail, and then we'll have to reload the game. That
is good timing. I will say adieu to everybody watching. Thanks for having me on while I could attend.
You're most welcome, Combat Wombat. You're welcome back anytime. And yeah, we'll see you around soon. Hopefully this will be an exciting finale. You have to tune in afterwards and see. But thank you for joining.
Take care.
Bye-bye. So while we've got this interlude, I'll run a 2-minute advert. But just to answer your question, Simon, I normally don't do post-game chats. I kind of did a little bit when I first started streaming, but I found sometimes some players are not receptive to it, and also after a really intense game, the last thing they might want to, the last thing they'd want to do is maybe talk to other people. It just depends. They may want to talk, they may not. So we'll just see what they want to do. If it was like the final, then we'd maybe say, come on, have a quick chat. And we'll see what the mood is. There's no pressure from them to I'm a bit nervous about jumping in here. So yeah, hopefully this works. So let me quickly run a 2-minute advert, and we'll be back in a second. Obviously, if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're subscribed, then you don't have any of this. Okay. This is definitely looking promising. Ah, okay. Fair enough. Yeah, everyone's going to be individual about it. I've done post-game sort of conversations. Sometimes I have, or I haven't. It depends on my mood. It depends on the game. Depends if I, yeah. There's just too many factors at play, and it's so individual based on the game. In this case, it's not as if either of them are going to be eliminated from this game because they do got their teammates' game to go. But yeah, we'll just have to see. It's also possible, looking at this, maybe the game won't get finished if this doesn't load. We've been really unlucky that we've had a few games in the last couple of weeks game bugged out. This is a really bad thing to showcase because the game's actually been really good. We had a huge update to the game last year, and it actually meant a lot of bugs and things in the game were really reduced. It's just, obviously, if you're a new player watching this, you'll be looking going, oh, look at this game's really buggy. It actually isn't. When you think about all the moving parts which are involved, it does actually work very well, and it works way better than it did when I joined the community, over 3 years ago at this point. When I used to play on Rocket League tournaments, it depended on the matches. Some matches were just so drawn out and exhausting, I just wanted to chill. Yeah. No, I agree. I think a lot of the time too is like because I record my own gameplay. I don't stream it, but I do a normal video recording. And the thing is, then I get so bogged down on my personal analysis of the game, then my brain might only be able to function on or focus on that and not on, a myriad of other voices in my head asking me questions. And sometimes there'll be things that I don't realize what I did until a day after as well. I don't know how Rocket League works, but I feel with a game like this, you can get very analytical with it. But sometimes when somebody asks you, why did you do that move? Sometimes I can't even remember that move. It just depends on how the game goes. And I might not be able to justify moves. I'll have to watch it back, and then I'll be able to understand, oh yeah, I did this. And other times I'll look at it, I'll try and analyze my own gameplay, and I'll say, I haven't got a clue why I did that. That doesn't make sense at all. So it just depends. Oh dear, why are we stuck here? Oh no. This is really unfortunate, because when they played in the league phase, these two players also had to have they also lost a game to a bug, and they had to replay it. They're not lucky, these two. In Rocket League, you make split-second decision, and people often slow down milliseconds. Yeah, I mean, for a game I don't play mechanical games like that for that reason. At least for this, I can kind of take my time and think about it a little bit, and I don't have to rush. It's a game of it's a game of skill, but in a very different way. Oh dear. But yeah, I don't feel I don't feel criticizing millisecond decisions is really the way to go about it. I used to play League of Legends a little bit, and that game, I wasn't very mechanically skilled anyway, but it feels like I was just acting on instinct all the time. So if you ask me, why did you do this? I'd be like, I don't know. It felt like the right thing to do. So yeah. Yeah, the fact I'm not loading makes me very concerned. I think I'm going to have to bail from the game. I've had playing matches. I have all these moments where I feel like I'm doing these great moves when you watch commentary and they think I'm going. I think the thing to sort of think about from that perspective. The screen's gone black. Don't worry, it'll come back in a second. Okay. The thing to think about that is, obviously, from a commentary perspective, right? There are certain things that we can't see, so you'll know what it is you're doing potentially. There might be times where you are making moves which are not logical, but you have information that we don't have, and it's only that when you tell me, oh, I got this card, or I had this, I'll be like, oh, okay, that makes sense why you do that then. But also, I've said it before, where sometimes it depends on who you're playing against, right? If you're playing against the top player who's playing, on the best game they've ever played, then if you don't play 100% efficiently, then you're screwed. But if you're playing a game where there's a little bit more space for, I don't say mistakes. I don't want to feel it that way, but it doesn't have to be this 100% efficiency game forever. Um, as long as you have a plan of what you're doing, that's better than no plan. I'd rather have somebody playing inefficiently, but they have a plan and they're trying to execute that plan, than somebody just floundering and they haven't got a plan. That's worse. Who won? I missed it. You didn't miss anything. We've had a little bit of a bug situation. So I'm trying to rejoin. Right, and I think the thing is, like, with this game, Simon, especially when you're playing as Dracula, if you play predictable 100% of the time, you're going to lose quite a lot of your games, because hunters will know you're playing predictable. You have to mix it up with a little bit of unpredictability to try and catch them out. And you can, if you make a big, that could cost you your life, and you could, as Dracula, you can die very, very quickly. But if it works, then you look like a genius. And that's kind of that very fine line you're trying to straddle. Hey, Snuff, I can't either. This is fucked. Yeah. You two are so unlucky, by the way. This is such a good game as well. There's such a tense moment there. That's now twice this has happened. And it happened with... You were playing as Drac when it happened. And it's now happened to Pizzawizard as Drac. It feels like when you're in the Drac screen, if you're... What happened? Right, what happened, Pizzawizard? Oh, wait, okay. Since this stream's going to be... I don't know. Do you have time? Do you want to quickly... I mean, since this game is not going to proceed, you're going to have to replay. Do you want to come in here? We maybe chat about the game? We have got some new viewers. Hey, Yondrazar. Yeah, the game's got to be... the game's fucked. Yeah, you want to hop in? All right, let's quickly get you two in, and we'll chat about it. I'll go into the 3-person VC in the community. So this would be cool. So we can actually then analyze the game a little bit, and we can get a little bit of additional perspective here. So I think this might still be worth uploading. Hello, hello. So we got Pizzawizard and Snuff on the line. Hello, gents.
Hey there.
Hello.
Oof.
Oof. Oh,
Well, I hope Pizzawizard was winning.
Pizzawizard was ducked out. Okay, so yeah, we were talking about it. It was kind of a this is Snuffaluffagus, for those of you who don't know, Hunter player. I was going to say that I was very shocked to see you playing as Hunters. I had to quickly retitle everything. That's okay. I should have paid attention a bit more. So how was that for you, Snuff? How are you feeling about all of this? Assuming the game's going to get ditched, so we can reveal all the information that we want.
No, we've already started talking amongst ourselves in private message, so we're gonna do a cold restart. So I guess to kind of give a brief overview, when Pizzawizard and Strider told us that they were gonna let us fuse first, and then that they were gonna have Pizzawizard play Drac, I was feeling kind of optimistic. I still kind of am, because I mean they've been doing the opposite structure for most of the tournament. So I felt like that gave us a slight edge. So, and then I was also kind of excited to see that I hit the hired scout. Normally with my hired scouts, when I draw them early, I like to ping Ireland or like Edinburgh, because it's just kind of devastating if you don't have the early info. But there was not a initial misdirect, so I knew it wasn't those. So I just pinged extremities, thinking that might be a thing Pizzawizard would do, and one of them hit. So I was real happy about that. I was able to block off Paris early. I really liked the whole early game. Where things started to get a little tricky is when the horse was at the bottom of the item deck, and that particular positioning made it so that I couldn't get in for that trade because of the bats in Marseille, and it just made everything really inconvenient. Getting a third hunter down there. I was happy when Pizzawizard left. I thought he was leaving from Alicante, but figured it out. definitely at the time of like the game ended, I started to feel that things were not going quite as much my way, because I was gonna let him take 3 points from the vamp in Madrid, and he didn't take it. And at that point, I was like, okay, well, there's probably a hoax next, but I didn't have a way to get to Cadiz other than using renewed vigor, which didn't seem worth it. Um, it might have been because I actually had double renewed vigor, so maybe it was worth it, but um, we will never know, I guess. I had a sense of emergency on Godalming, and like several turns before, I could have traded it off of him. And in hindsight, I was kicking myself because if I had traded it off of him, were able to get it to like Seward or Mina, I would have used the sense of emergency to get one of them to Cadiz, but that was not possible at that point. So at the time we left off, I was kind of like, okay, the game's kind of a state of equipoise because, you know, he had no influence. I had 4 well-supplied hunters. I had 2 renewed vigors, no CG, no forewarned, but I did have, the RVs. But I didn't have a way to figure things out if he was able to draw things out and create confusion leaving Cagliari in terms of which way he went. If he could do that, that could be a problem. I didn't have Money Trail or Hypnosis or Surprising Return or anything. So that could have been a problem. Um, and certainly with him already having a Drac event and him getting a second Drac event that would have been a powerful one, I could have been in a pretty tight spot. And I didn't have any other stakes, so getting the presumed vamp in Cagliari could have been a problem as well. So it's like, I feel like at the time we ended, we both were in powerful positions, and it really could have gone anyone's way.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of sad that we didn't get to see that denouement, or that climax in denouement. So uh,
See,
it would have been that's on my favorite word list, denouement.
I need to still check out that list. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, before Pizzawizard jumps in, just for like a neutral perspective, because Combat Wombat and I were going back and forth about it. It seemed like I mean, I didn't pay full attention to the horse situation because there's just so many other things going on. But it makes sense that you're trying to get that all traded across. I felt once you were able to deal with the Saragossa Vamp, I don't disagree with your decision to leave Madrid to mature because I feel especially since Seward got beaten up a lot, you had to you have to send Mina over there, and then I didn't know if you had Hypnosis, you want to get that up and running. You were also a little bit weak in terms of events. I didn't know what events you had, but just in terms of raw number, you were below where you should have been at that point. But just because you had to do a lot of moving, you had Amsterdam to deal with, so it's not your fault. It's just the way the game sort of evolved. So as soon as I saw you just all going to Marseille and Bordeaux, I fully respected that decision. I feel like that was not... Obviously, the way it panned out, you're like, well, damn, now I've got a hoax. I don't know what was in Lisbon. Maybe there was a vampire there. So in hindsight, it was maybe the wrong choice. But I completely understand why you did it. And if you felt you were low on certain things, and also then you got the evil presence, which, you didn't need the money trail or the hypnosis because you had evil presence there do its job for you. And that was perfect for that. So I thought you were in quite a strong position. But the minute I said, as soon as that new vamp didn't go through, then you're wondering about what's coming next, and then I hadn't quite counted how many event cards are in. There's 11 event cards there that Dracula could pick from, and also there was already one in. I think I don't know. We're trying to work out Pizzawizard what the events were. Did you have Summon Storms or Roadblock, or were we wrong on that? Combat Wombat 4, he saw a prompt.
I did have Roadblock.
Oh, okay, that was very
Huh.
good. That was very good prompt. Combat Wombat's got a very keen eye. That was very good. I missed that prompt.
Ooh, I'm very surprised you didn't use that to mature Amsterdam.
I thought
Did you
about
win a-
that. That's something I did think about that option. I was really hoping Seward either didn't have a horse, or I saw there were, I believe, 10 tickets in the pool at that point, and I was hoping if he rolled, he would just roll poorly. But I think that in hindsight, I should probably just guarantee that he doesn't get Amsterdam. Like I have no reason to think he doesn't have horse. And if you didn't have horse, I feel like you would have just moved a day earlier with him to make sure you got in. So I think, yeah, easy to say with hindsight, knowing that you have the horse and that you would get the good roll. Especially Mina rolling poorly right after that made me feel like, dang it, the luck was not there.
I intentionally discarded some like yellow 2 tickets because normally I'm not one to like not have the hunters have full tickets because sometimes these yellow 2s are helpful. But I intentionally discarded all my excess yellow 2s, hoping to improve the odds of getting to Amsterdam there, and it worked. One last thing before we get like Pizzawizard's full narrative, I will say, like the last 3 items, I think if I remember right, were definitely steak, definitely I think it was steak and then like Heavenly Host or something, definitely steak, and then at the very end, Helsing drew the horse in the last item draw. So
Oh.
Godalming had the steak, and Helsing had the last horse. So that bat in Marseille not only made it harder to get Godalming into the action to give him that horse, that last horse, it also prevented me from trading away that steak, which like could have been helpful in terms of getting to Saragossa. I wanted to use the steak on Saragossa, but that bat really mucked things up and made me have to go back and take the fight and use the lucky find to get the. I was going to try to use the lucky find to get a steak, but I didn't get one. He had bullets and the gun, and I was going to try to kill with the gun. That didn't work, and then I finally said, okay, I can guarantee a kill of the Saragossa vamp with the Heavenly Host I just drew from the lucky find, so I used that. But killing that Saragossa vamp was like way harder than it necessarily needed to be, and it all comes down to that that bat. I want to cuss, but I'm going to stop myself. That bat in Marseille.
Bats and
Um,
layers, they're pretty potent. I also saw that Godalming had to discard a knife and Heavenly Host at one point. So
That was big.
yeah.
That was a big like flag to me that the items were not working out properly. Like either he had 2 knives, he was drawing horses like you just revealed. Like that was a big like. I was very happy to see a knife and Heavenly Host get discarded.
yeah, it got picked up by like Mina or somebody later. The knife did, so that was helpful. Like it came back quickly, but it was that part of the draw was really problematic and inefficient and so forth. So anyway, I'll stop talking. Let's hear
I
Pizza
feel
Wizard's thoughts.
you dealing with the trail and your movements were very efficient. So that side of the game was really key to be honest. And I was saying in commentary that the the game was evolving quite well. Obviously, I can't see items and stuff, so I'm only having to guess what was going on. But in terms of there was very little wasted movement. You were dealing with the trail. You nice hide scouts to get rid of Not and Clermont-Ferrand. You knew the wolf form pretty quickly. So if there were things that are a little bit out of your control a little bit, but still, like you're in a good position in theory. 2 in Marseille, 2 in Bordeaux, supplying up, getting events. So yeah, it looked quite
Well,
good until suddenly somebody decided not to mature a vamp.
yeah. The one other thing that was inefficient was like that. I made a comment about the escape route because Mina had one and then Helsing had one. If Mina still had the escape route, if I hadn't done the random reckless, which I kind of did just without much thought, I would have felt comfortable having her jump onto Madrid. But after like I used it, I realized, oh no, I don't feel comfortable having her go to Madrid because what if it's Drac and a vamp? I could be in huge trouble. She has no events. So I was like, I had an inefficient move with her, I think, to clear Toulouse, where she went from Saragossa to Toulouse.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I couldn't, she had, what was the deal? For some reason, like, I felt like I couldn't even do anything with her. Like I didn't even want to supply. I can't remember why.
But didn't you escape through the vampire at night, or am I misremembering?
I think I.
It was during the day. It was during an ambush.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. Well, I guess you didn't want to
Yeah.
give up. You didn't want to give up a. Oh no, it was it the new vamp or the Saragossa one? Saragossa.
Reckless in
I
and
guess you
Saragossa.
didn't want to
Yeah.
give up another influence point, I suppose.
To be honest, I just kind of did it quickly, and I was like, okay, I have a second escape route. Who cares? But I just, in hindsight, was really regretting it because did think it slowed down me forcing Pizza Wizard to see a little bit. It wasn't a huge deal, but
But at the same
I wasn't.
But I guess it also depends on what you were thinking of doing next, right? Because if there was a potential opportunity to be aggressive there, then if Mina saves 2 damage from not taking that reckless vampire fight, that could be Dracula. That might stop Dracula from staying on land 1 turn more, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
If you got that extra health advantage, it just depends on what Dracula's holding and stuff. But yeah. It was a tricky trail at that point.
Okay, actually, last thing. Just looking at the chat, Andres, in my video that's now kind of useless. I tried to pronounce it as Italian as I could. I tried to say Cagliari Carbonara Speciali. You know, I don't know if that's good or bad, but I'm trying real hard.
It sounded
You know,
Italian
in honor
anyway.
of my ancestors. You know, so I pronounced it like that. You can tell me if that's good or bad or trying too hard. Yeah. Ooh, smiley faces. He likes it. What up? Thank you,
Hey.
Andrzat. Boom. All right.
So what's the deal with
Now,
Pizza Wizard? The Dracula side of the board.
I mean, until the hoax went off, I was not feeling great about this game. You know, I went to Amsterdam. I lost the mental battle not to go to Amsterdam, so I went there. And then I got found. Thankfully, I didn't dark call. I thought a lot about dark calling instead of hiding that day, but I hid because I was worried I would get found in Amsterdam. And then he did hit the hired scouts and he did find me there, which meant I was still able to get the bats off of the behind the veil to protect the Amsterdam vampire, which actually was a big coup. I was sitting there like he's hitting behind the veil. This means I can't fog Amsterdam, which was the original plan. Or I might have put a saboteur. I was like kind of vacillating between those two options. And then you behind the veil to take the fog, but drew me into the bats. And I was like, oh my god, Snuff is gonna assume it's a saboteur. He's gonna go with his dogs there. I might be able to like sneak an Amsterdam mature out of him. Uh, Unfortunately, this did not work out. But I should have played the roadblock. I think that I've been thinking about that while you guys have been talking about it. I think I was a little bit greedy. I was a little bit like, oh, I really, in magical Christmas land where everything goes my way, I'm going to get the vampire anyway. So I should save roadblock for some later use. But there is no better use for it than what I would like. Maturing the 7-point vampire is the best you're going to get out of a roadblock, I think. Especially that early on when you're less likely to have good luck
correct.
to deal
I
with
didn't
it.
have it then. I did get it later. That would have been like the best time to use it, I think.
Um, Then moving out of there, I was pretty happy when you hired Scouted, Not, and Clermont-Ferrand. It made me feel good that I hadn't gone to those places because I did think when you moved Seward, I was like, I should probably go towards Spain. That's like the kind of hole in the net right now that if Seward's going to go deal with Amsterdam, that leaves me free to go into Spain. So it made me feel good that I'd gone to Geneva, although you immediately checked Geneva with Mina. So that kind of, you immediately knew where I was. Going to Marseille was kind of a question for me. Was something I wasn't sure about. I know Marseille is obviously very well connected, and it was my only way to get into Spain that didn't involve going through Clermont-Ferrand or going like the far way around on the coast using Nantes. But I really like the Marseille layer, which I think did pay out eventually, being able to put the bats there. I think being able to like put a Reckless in Marseille or put a bats in Marseille, hunters are going to move there because it's just one of the best bases on the board. So you're guaranteed, I mean, not guaranteed, but like 95% of the time, your Marseille layer will hit something, which is nice. Um, the whole Spain thing felt awkward. I was going into Spain with the intention of I had a hoax in my hand and I had a roadblock. And I was like, is there some way I can put this hoax somewhere where I can use my roadblock to protect it and then make sure the hoax matures? Because I kind of picked up at some point that you were not very like you seemed like you were not trying to pounce on me and you were like sitting with Godalming and supplying. I was like, Godalming is supplying for horse. If Godalming is supplying for horse, I have time. I need to try to use this somehow before he gets set up. So I was trying to set up something in Spain. I went through to I put down a bunch of vampires because I saw you had a couple stakes, but I was hoping that like I knew you had a stake on Van Helsing, but I thought if I put a vampire in Marseille, I would get an ambush out of it. You'd probably stake it, and then I hoped that it would make either Madrid or Saragossa. Yes, that's the name. I hoped that one of those vampires would get through, or if they didn't, I was kind of worried that I would get jumped on. Maybe not in Madrid. I think the day after Madrid. Hold on, I have my footage here that I'm looking through. But like the day that I went to was in Madrid, and you jumped onto Saragossa, I believe. Yes. The day after that, I was kind of worried that I was going to get pounced on. So I was like, okay. I originally had wanted to go to Granada because I was like, Granada, only 3 roads. I can roadblock every road. Maybe that'll give me the extra day to mature the hoax. But then Mina got way closer than I thought she was going to, and I was like, oh no, this is not good. I can't go to Granada. What if somehow he finds that I'm in Granada and I get CG nuked out of this game? Okay, that would be so embarrassing. We're not gonna do it. So I went to 12 instead because it was the other city where I could completely roadblock everything. Then I moved to what is it? It's the 31. I moved to 31, the city where I eventually left from. Is it Lisbon? Lisbon.
Lisbon. Yep.
And you would not move out of Santander. And I was sitting there like, Mina, I just need you to go check Alicante. I fed in Lisbon because I thought that you would think I was hiding in Alicante. I was like, if I feed right now, it's gonna look so much like Alicante. If Seward jumps in there, he will move it completely out of the way. There's nothing there, and then Mina can't fight me by herself. So I was like, okay, surely he will go after Alicante. You didn't end up going after Alicante, but at least you didn't jump on me. And I was like, we've successfully fed. This is good. I was very acutely feeling my HP because the Sister Agatha Rufus combo, like you had Agatha out, so I couldn't really fight you to like gain HP, and I knew if I went to see, you'd probably like bring Rufus back. I felt my HP very acutely, and I was trying to do anything I could to like get it up. So being able to like squeak out a feed there, and then in my mind maybe misdirect you, would have been very exciting. Didn't quite work out, but it did like was able to live in Lisbon. Although you didn't move out of Santander, I really wanted you to move out of Santander. I was like, come on, Mina, just leave. I will move there. I'll put a fog there. I don't know what you would have thought at that point, but I was like, I can probably squeak out a little bit more time in Spain because I didn't really want to leave from the South Atlantic. It wasn't that exciting, but I'd kind of been forced there by my move to 12. Because once I moved to 12, I can't really go to Granada after that. And I can't go back to Madrid. So I'm kind of forced to go back up towards South Atlantic, maybe a little bit of a misplanned movement from me. And then I'm at sea. And I'm thinking, okay, I have this Madrid thing. It didn't look like you were going to deal with Madrid, which I was a little bit confused by. I thought for sure you would deal with it. But then I remembered, like, there was a video or something where you were like, I think people aren't letting vampires mature enough. You know, if they're going to mature their 3-point vampire, 4-point vampire, and knock off the trail, that's fine. I feel like I had heard your voice in my head saying that. I was like, okay, if he's going to let Madrid
True.
go,
I do think that.
what if I go back? Because Saragossa's got a rumor token on it. I have 2 fighter vampires in my hand. I could have 3 fighter vampires in Madrid. What if I did that? But then I was like, hold on. Let's look forward a little bit in the future. If I go back to Madrid here, if I wolf form back to Madrid, it's really bad because I can't go to sea. I've used both the sea spaces. So I can sit in Madrid. I can't even feed there because I've already got feet on the trail. I can't hide because it's I can hide, but it won't do anything. I was like, this is terrible. It's a bad idea. But if I considered it, what if I don't wolf form, I instead land normally? Snuff might think that I'm in Alicante or Barcelona instead and trying to go back to my double layer. He might think that I'm dumb enough to do that. So I was like, this is my plan. And then I was so happy that you moved back to Santander to scan. I was like, yes. Oh my God. He's spent both of his day actions moving into Spain to do nothing. And I'm gonna get my hoax mature. I was like, this is the turning point. This is where everything's gonna go well. And then I caused the bug. I know what I did to cause the bug. I was in the hoax screen. The hoax, which by the way was one of the most stacked hoaxes I've ever seen. All right, I have my footage here so I can see every event that was in it.
There's like 11 cards in there, so you had a quite good chance of getting some good stuff. But let's see how stacked it generally was. Then let's see.
It had Emmanuel, Darkness Returns, Unearthly Swiftness, Hidden Schemes, Wild Horses, Summon Storms. It would have like every good event in the game, and I was sitting there like, oh my God, if I make the wrong choice and lose this game because I don't choose the right awesome event, I'm gonna feel so bad. And I was like, hold on, Emmanuel, what order does Emmanuel work? Like, does the hoax shuffle everything in and then I get Emmanuel, or do I get Emmanuel and then everything gets shuffled back in? And I couldn't remember the order of events, so I wanted to read a hoax card to like feel good about how hoax works. So I went and I didn't have a hoax in hand, but I put one into a layer in Madrid because I realized I wasn't gonna go to Madrid, so I just like put a hoax there. I didn't want to put anything else. I wanted to save my fighter vampires in my fog. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna check my layer, see what the hoax says. I go into layer screen, I read hoax. I'm like, okay, it didn't actually let me look at the layer. And then I was like, wait, why is it not letting me like click in the layer? It's like, okay, fine. We're just not gonna choose a manual. We're just gonna choose Darkness Returns. It's the right answer. We'll just choose Darkness Returns. It'll be great. And then I exit out of the layer screen. I'm like, okay, back into hoax screen. I click the toggle map button. And I realize that it does not let me go back to the hoax screen because now I have toggled mapped from the layer screen instead. So now I have no way to get back to the hoax screen. And I'm like, oh, this is bad.
Whoops.
And then from there, we can see how it transpired. I tried to relog, doesn't work. I just think if I'm in hoax screen, I cannot go into another like sub menu essentially. I think that's what caused the bug.
Yeah. So
hold on.
Strider's referring to something in chat. That's not what Pizza was referring to. What Pizza was referring to is if Pizza Wizard picks a Manuel Hildesheim, do all the other cards in the discard get shuffled in and then a manual activates? I think a manual activates and then everything gets shuffled in. I think, if I remember rightly, but.
Which would have made it a horrible manual because all of the other good events were there staring me in the face. I was like, if I pick it and it doesn't work that way, it's going to be the biggest blowout ever. I think I probably would have just picked Darkness Returns because I think it's just a safe option. Like you say, Darkness Returns, it's probably going to do good. Maybe Unearthly Swiftness is better. I like Darkness Returns.
So,
I like it
so
a
I guess the
lot.
question is, so the way that we were then trying to figure out is, well, you've got a host mature. That's obviously very good because you'd have double. Oh, thank you for that. I turned down Pizza Wizard a little bit, but I'm normally quiet, but I'll turn Pizza Wizard down a bit.
Sorry, I got very passionate there. I was very
No,
excited about that hoax
you
when it matured.
don't. You no need to apologize.
Rightly so.
I was going to ask. So I guess the thing that we were trying to figure out in commentary was what's in Lisbon, because obviously if Lisbon matures into vampire, then obviously then Cagliari now becomes this very dangerous spot because you can go back in either direction. Was there a vamp in Lisbon?
No, it was just a desecrated soil. But I thought it would
Oh.
mature because Seward had used his Heavenly Host on the vampire. So I thought it had a decent chance of maturing if Seward was going to go deal with it. But I don't know if Mina would have gone and she had a Heavenly Host. But it was only a desecrated soil. It was not a vampire.
So I guess then you were always having to go back east then thereafter. Once we would have discovered, oh, it's not a vamp, it's desecrated soil. You would have just gone. You'd have to go east from that point. Did you have a follow-up
Once
plan?
I got revealed by the evil presence in the Mediterranean, I knew that I would always going to have to go east. And I normally think that landing in Kag is a bad idea because I think that it kind of telegraphs exactly what we're going to do. But I already felt like my route had already been telegraphed. He knew I was going to go east because he knew I'd left from South Atlantic. I knew there was going to be no vampire mature to knock off the sea trail. So I said, okay, if I'm going to go east anyway, I would like to land in Kag. Partially because I think it will bluff that I've gone back to Spain, but also because I'm going to get these 3 HP points from this Desperate Soul that I thought was likely to mature. Maybe it wouldn't have. And if I can get another vampire down in Kag, there's enough time left in the game that somebody's going to have to come deal with it. One of the excellent weathers is already used.
Yep.
If I can essentially drag a hunter out into sea, that's less supplying that's happening while they're able to chase me. I normally don't. I'm not a huge fan of going to Keg, but I think in this situation there was enough upside that I was like, this feels like a good way to delay them. My plan after that, I was either going to. I think I was just gonna leave immediately. I don't think I was gonna hide. Unless I had to hide. I don't think I would have had to hide to get the Desecrated Soil healing. No, it would have worked out. I think I had taken enough damage because I had moved. Yeah, I had taken 2 from leaving, 1 from moving to sea, 1 nothing from going. So I was down 3 HP. So yeah, I think I would have just left immediately. I didn't really have a reason to hide on that vampire. It was a Reckless that was in Keg. That's why I
It would be
rumored it
hard to deal
immediately as
with
well.
because I wouldn't want to. I would want to use Helsing to deal with it, and there were no stakes on anybody at that point, and Helsing only had 2 guns, and I could trade it off of him to get like something to kill the vamp with. Right, I could trade off, a knife and Heavenly Host to be in a good reckless killing position, but then I'm sending probably good alming, but like one of my fighter hunters your direction without as good of stuff because I'm trying to save it for Helsing. And so I'd be in an awkward position trying to guess, okay, how much do I supply? When do I move? I would probably assume that you had Darkness Returns, you might use it to mature the vamp or something. I wouldn't know. It would be hard to get to that vamp and kill it. It probably would have matured.
Right, and also I think it's also the fact like not only is there an excellent weather in the discard, which means trying to get to that vamp's going to be more difficult, but also as Dracula, you're even safer being in kind because only 1 hunter can get onto you.
Yeah.
I did not even feel like threatened at all. I felt like there was no way you were gonna excellent weather on there if there was even the smallest chance that I was in Spain. Because if you excellent weather and I'm in Spain, it's so bad. It's so bad. Like I was like, there's no way he's gonna burn excellent weather unless he knows I'm not in Spain. I mean, I think you could have taken
That's
that
how I
risk. But
almost beat you. Like in my game,
yeah.
my, victory from the Jaws of Defeat game, right? You excellent weathered to Cagliari and I wasn't there, I went to Geneva. It's a similar thing, right?
Hmm.
So I do think that's probably overcautious to scan it, because if you were gonna go there, you would have gone to Madrid after for the layer, and I would have seen it. So that was definitely a mistake on my part to do that scan. But
I was just kind of hoping it would freeze you in place and you wouldn't move. That was my hope, was that you would just not want to leave until you knew for sure that I wasn't in Spain, and then that would like give the Cagliari vampire would be like 2 or 3 spaces down the trail before you like. I guess I would have gone to sea immediately, which would have meant that. I wish I could tell you I had a grand plan. I wish I could be like, okay, this is what I was gonna do in the next week, and this is how I was gonna win the game. I usually don't have that big of a plan. I very much am a like I react to what I'm seeing on the board. But I think I probably would have gone all the way to the east just because I want to try to drag you as far away as possible. I don't think I would have gone to Italy. And then it probably would have depended on like with the Dark Returns in hand. Maybe I feel like I can just sit in the east for a while and then like jump in the Adriatic or try to go back to Spain at some point under the safety of having like a double vampire lair. There were options. I think that it could have gone a lot of different ways. It definitely was not a clear-cut game. I feel like I was in a strong position with the hoax and potentially, I don't know if this would have matured. I don't know if it would have. If you had just sent Seward, it would have, but I don't know if you would have sent Mina instead.
But can you imagine the
It,
thing from like an efficiency? I was talking about in context like resource management. The fact that you dedicate then hunter resources to go back to Lisbon to kill a vamp that actually is then not a vamp and you can't even deal with the Desperate Soul anyway. That'd be just worst case scenario because Seward could have been halfway to the east by that point. So yeah, that'd have been really rough to see from a hunter perspective if that was the case. It'd been really tough because you'd saying you got double renewed vigor. So even I guess it would all hinge on if the Cagliari vampire would mature or not. If that matures, then you're in a really strong position. Could be coming into 4th week with 7 points, and there's no vampire left to cancel that. But
yes, thankfully.
if Cagliari could get dealt with, and then all the hunters have good horse economy, and they're chasing you eastward, and they've got double renewed vigor, that's a tough game, and that's definitely as it's not clear then. That there'll be a lot of stuff, and obviously you didn't have fog. Well, would have had 1 fog, I think, right?
I had the other fog in hand, yeah.
Okay, but all it takes is forewarned at the right time, and then that's nullified. Or if Snuff could force you off the fog, and you take an extra move or something.
Yep.
Definitely,
there's definitely chances there. Like I don't think it's even like I would not call it more than like 60-40. Even that might be a stretch, I think. Like I don't think Snuff was out of it in any sense of the word. I just felt like from a Dracula position, I felt like things had gone my way in Spain. Like I had kind of gotten a win there, even if I hadn't won the game off of it.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think it's just a few little things that kind of messed it up. Because I think without the hoax, you'd be in a very weak position.
Oh yeah, 100%.
With the hoax, you're in, I think it's more like 50-50 for us. And the key thing for me would be me figuring out, would you have gone like 2 moves? Would you like Wolf from Ionian, or would you go the full 3 and Wolf from Blacker?
I probably would have gone only 2. I think the third one doesn't really provide that much obfuscation, and it just leaves you more time to move into the east. I probably would have just gone 2 and then Wolf form to Sophia. But maybe I shouldn't be telling this because we're going to play again. But I feel like the 3C move, like, oh, I might be an Adriatic, might be going to Italy, is not actually that good, right? Mina can just sit, she can scan Italy. If Italy is a dud, you have someone in Munich, you then know I'm in the east anyway. Or you hit me, and then I can't go back to Tyranian for 2 to 3 days. Sorry, go ahead.
There's a huge risk as well of money trail CG combos messing up your day as well.
Yeah. The trick for me would be to really efficiently get to you in the east and get a quick combat that would hopefully like result in you either triggering your fog or not, so that like the next time I get you and I'm using the second renewed vigor, like you don't have a fog to protect you. I think that would be. I need to get the fight fast because I knew you would have something like an Unearthly Witness or Darkness Returns. I would need to get at least 1 fight to make you use your stuff, and then get you again, is I think what would have been necessary. But I do think that like it's fine to tell me about like what you would have done there because I feel like we already are playing off of the ways we know each other plays. You did some research. I did some research, right? I guess Amsterdam and whatever else, I guess, because I'm thinking that you either do you like extremities and you like Central Europe or the East, right? You don't, from what I've seen, you don't do a lot of Southern Italy stuff or a lot of Britannia stuff, right? I know that. I've talked about how I think people don't let vamps mature enough and you played accordingly. I still stand by that opinion because if I'd been better with my trading, that would have been fine, and the problem was actually not me letting them mature. The problem was my event trading. But yeah, so like we already have a lot of knowledge about each other's play styles. So
and since you play against each other a lot anyway because of time zones and stuff, you just naturally end up playing quite a lot of games anyway.
Ish. I play Strider more. I think that our schedules don't align as well, even though the clocks do. Strider,
I do not think Strider wanted to play you. I think we had talked about it, and he was like, I don't really want to play Dracula. I was like, okay, I'll do it instead. Like, that's why I'm here playing Dracula today. Strider wanted to hunt Androzot instead. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I'll play Dracula. Give you a chance to get back at me.
Yeah.
So I found it very. I was saying this before commentary. I just automatically plugged you in as Hunter player Pizzawizard, and then it was only then when I saw the lobby that you weren't as hunters. I was like, whoa, what on earth is going on here? And I was going through the whole Discord, like, what's the chat? What's the chat? What's going on? So if you don't want to reveal why, I understand, because it might affect things later on. But is there,
I know why.
as first seeds, why would you not wanna? Is it because you wanted to avoid the Strider Snuff matchup, or because you and Strider have been almost playing, you've always been on Hunters and Strider's always been on Dracula pretty much the whole league. Because I thought you tried to sort of keep that flow going.
That was my original intention. I talked to Strider about it after we heard that they were going to be playing. I was like, okay, I'm happy to keep hunting if that's fine with you. And Strider, and it's really came down to Strider. Strider said that he wanted to play hunters against Amazon, and I was like, okay. I felt pretty confident on, like, maybe this is like an arrogance thing. I felt pretty confident on either side. I was like, I don't feel like I need to be playing hunters to have a good chance in the game I'm about to play either way. So I was happy to let Strider take hunters if that made him more comfortable. There was no like big brain strategy. Strider just said he wanted to play hunters. I was like, okay, I'll play Dracula.
Okay.
Yeah, I
And
think
'cause
both Strider and I. So in the first game where we played them in the regular season, right? Strider and I both didn't want to play each other, right? Because as Strider saying in the comment, we play each other all the time. He's like and there'll be times where like he can just sense what I'm going to do. He can sense when I'm going to dodge the first punch, and vice versa, right? So we get annoyed when it seems that the other person knows what we're going to do because we play each other so much. We always play weeknights Eastern time, like 10 p.m. We play a lot, right? And I think he and I, and he's saying that we were both kind of like, don't want to lose because the other player knows us too well. And so because of that, in the regular season when we played them and they chose first, we actually switched our rules. And Huntress and I always planned to, you know, do some where we do reverse. We always planned that I do more hunters, but we do a mix. So it wasn't too bad. But like, we knew that was going to be one of the times where I'd switch because I didn't want to play Strider. I'd rather play Pizzawizard. Like, but it worked out so poorly for us. We were like, okay, I think no matter what happens, we're gonna do it so that in this game, I'm gonna play hunters. He's gonna play Drac. It's just stronger for us. I don't care. I'm getting over my hangups for this. So when you guys deferred to us, it ended up being better because now we're kind of getting the best of both worlds because we're playing on our stronger faction and I'm not playing Strider. And so I was really happy with how that assignment turned out. I think if you had said we're choosing first and I'm like, I don't know. I think that if you had done it the other way, it'd be better. Like I think the one we did last time where we played flipped roles and you guys played your standard roles was probably net worse for us.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I don't know. That was my thinking. I think this is better for us.
Well, we'll see how it turns out for us. I'm afraid that I probably won't be able to play until the weekend, unfortunately, because I was talking to someone about this. I have some important things I need to really focus up for, like on Thursday and Friday. And I know they're already playing on Sunday, Strider and what's his name? Andrew Zod. I'm sorry, my
What's his
brain.
name? Don't you dare
Wow,
disrespect my
damn.
teammate.
Look,
Oh, it's on now. It's on now,
mix up
Pizza
city
Man.
names. I call Munich and Marseille. It's not about.
Oh,
It's my brain
shit.
is things fall through the cracks. All right, it's okay. Andrew Zod.
Ooh.
Sorry, Andrew Zod. He's very important to me. Look, clearly he hexed me because I moved to CAG and then suddenly my game breaks. Clearly I should have listened.
I'll just put a little bit of
uh,
a special code over there or something. Yeah. Oh,
Oh man.
we'll figure it out in the offline exactly when the two of us are going to play, but it's probably going to have to be on the weekend, unfortunately. But I wanted to avoid it by playing today, but I think that I probably can't play later this week. But no,
Yeah.
very interesting. I do have one question for you, and
Sure.
this is maybe getting a little bit further into the game. I'm right now the board is Saragossa, the vampire's on the third space. I'm looking back at my footage right now. You moved Mina to Saragossa, right? She gets ambushed by the vampire. You play the escape route. You then, the next day, move her back to Toulouse. And
Yeah.
this very much confused me.
So was the top? So that was the day phase. That's what I was saying about my escape route, right? If I had an escape route at that point, I think I would move to Madrid just to see when you were there. I feel comfortable. But at that point, I was like,
Mm.
there wasn't that. There wasn't anything else useful for me to do because I didn't want to jump on you without an escape route with Mina, because I feel like she could easily die in that one-on-one combat with Drac. and I didn't
Right.
want to supply because I thought at that point you were in a position where I thought you were, as you suspected, you thought correctly about what I was thinking. I thought that you were an Alicante, and so if I supplied and I revealed a Drac event, then you would dark call, and I did not want you to dark call at that point. So I was like, what? There's nothing.
Mm.
I almost passed with Mina because I didn't think there was anything I could do with her that would help me. And eventually said, well, sending her back is not great because I'm moving away from you, but at least I can clear the trail a little faster. I don't think that Toulouse is a vamp, and if it is, fine. Like, I don't know. So I eventually thought that was the most useful thing I could do with her, but I was really kicking myself because if I had traded the second escape route to her before, or if I had just not used it on the random reckless, I would have moved with her. I would have felt comfortable enough to move with her and try to force you out of Spain faster. Um, and it would have ended up helping because then I could, go check Cadiz, later. But I really had some trouble not doing effective trades, and that kind of made the problem of having bad luck in terms of the horse draw with Godalming worse. It exacerbated that problem. Because if I had had the sense of emergency on anyone other than Godalming, I would have cleared the hoax. But I think if I had had the escape route on Mina that turn, she would have moved forward, not back, and you would have had to leave Spain faster. And I think that would have been net better for me. So,
That movement makes sense then. I was because I understand the fear of you don't want to run onto a Dracula, right? And if I could be in Madrid, even if you go to Santander, there's some chance I'm there. Like there is some chance in any of those places. That makes sense. I thought it was because you realized there was a vampire there and Mina didn't have stakes, so you were gonna leave with Mina and bring someone else into Spain with stakes. That was kind of what I was thinking at the time. So I was like, maybe he doesn't want to overcommit to Spain if if Mina doesn't have the eyes to deal with it, you're gonna have to bring someone else in anyway. I thought you were maybe bailing with Mina early because you were going to send someone else deep into Spain, but then she moved back into Santander the next day, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess he was just scared. Like, I didn't really understand what was going on, but that makes more sense. You were worried you were going to run onto me accidentally because I could have been anywhere in Spain at that point. That makes sense.
yeah, I wanted to force you out, um, but I thought that sending Mina there alone without escape route with no events whatsoever would be counterproductive. So that's that.
It's a very fine line, that whole Iberia play, right? Because it's an extremity, but it doesn't feel like an extremity because hunters can get in there very quickly and move around with chartered carriages and renewed vigors with standard rail movement and stuff. So as hunters, you're going to play this little bit of a game here where you need to try and force Dracula out of there and make Dracula scared, but also if you commit too far in, then you're going to have to try and backtrack, or if you do end up jumping on drag and you burn lots of resources, then you can't deal with the encounters, and then that could create a snowball effect depending on what happens next. So it's a very difficult fine line to sort of hit. And how many Draculas have we seen overstay in Iberia and just die before they even get to sea and before everything matures because they just take one turn too many? So there's a lot of sort of cat and mouse sort of gameplay going on there, trying to figure out who's gonna pull the trigger first a little bit on that. It's very
I
interesting.
was really hoping he would. I really wanted him to jump into Alicante. I was like, please think that I'm being greedy right now. Please go. I was like, please go into Alicante, please. And then he didn't go. But
Yeah,
uh,
I thought you were there. You did fool me. It just the
well, that's the safe play. Going to Alexander is the safe play. I had to hope that you would think highly of me and be like, he'll do the safe play. Why would he just be sitting in Lisbon on a desecrated soil? That would be too stupid. That's where the rail leads. I could get killed there so easily. Um, but yeah, it's fine. We will need to talk about when we're playing. I can't do it right now because unfortunately I have to run. But we will figure something out, Snuff. We will get this game done. And I definitely would not start in Amsterdam again. That wouldn't happen. Okay, so you shouldn't
okay.
check there. Wouldn't be in Amsterdam 2 games in a row. That doesn't sound like a real thing. I think my footage is probably gonna go in the recycle bin of it's never gonna get seen. But
Oh,
I didn't.
this footage of mine is so going, especially after all this chat. This footage is so going up, by the way.
That's all right. That's good. I think that most of the good stuff from mine has been revealed in this, so that's good. That's good. I will see you folks around. Snuff, Scotsford. I don't think you'll probably be streaming the next one, but thanks for trying to stream this one. Sorry about the bugs again. I will be more careful with my menu searching in the future, and I will see you. I will see you, Snuff, and your team. What was his name? Andrazat. I remember at this time that was a joke. I will see both of you later this week. All right. Have a good one.
Yep, sounds good. Good
Take
luck
care,
with the
Peace with
exams. Alrighty then.
looks like it's gonna be a
About
stack.
that bedtime for you, huh?
Yeah, half midnight. See it bedtime. We'll go and raid Worm Talon beforehand. It's gonna be a stacked weekend though, because we got my game on Friday, and then depending on when Strider and Androzot play, if that's Sunday or Saturday, and then if you've got a game at the weekend as well. I don't know when Geo and Terminus plays. It could be all 4 games at the weekend potentially. So that's gonna be.
That'd be wild.
Yeah.
I have some things going on this weekend, but I'm not 100% sure what is when. So we'll have to see. Cool. Well, we'll figure it out though. Thank you for streaming Stargate Crash. It was a really good competitive game, and I would have liked to see the ending, but
Yeah, same. But
so it goes.
c'est la vie. But yeah, we'll look forward to the next one. So take as much time as you need to recuperate after all that, and then yeah, we'll look forward to the rematch. But yeah, thank you for joining, Snuff. Good chat.
Yep. Talk to you later. Thanks again. Bye now.
Bye bye. And yeah, thank you everybody for being here. We're going to go and raid Worm Talon, friend of the community, of course. So let's get that going. Yeah, so obviously people on YouTube. We'll see if I can stream the other game. Then we'll try and do it. We'll play it by ear. But yeah, thank you everybody in the chat. Oh, okay, so I guess you must be from Greece then, hence your questions about Greece there. Yes, it's half midnight my time, so yeah, I'm off to bed. So it's a shame that some of you were here for your first Fury of Dracula game and it ended in a bug. It's a real shame, but never mind. Sometimes these things happen and we'll work around it. These bugs don't happen very often, so we'll work around it as best we can. So yeah, there'll be lots more Fury of Dracula action over the weekend. I've got my own game. And there'll be the other semi-final games. So yeah, links below. If you're watching on YouTube, links below to all the people who record games from the Fury of Dracula community. If you join the community, you'll see notifications, so you'll know when the games are going live, if you're able to watch. We'll see if the time zones and things all work out. But thank you for watching, everybody. Let's go and raid Worm Talon, who's playing some Final Fantasy, and show him some love. He's a fellow Fury of Dracula player. What's the raid message? What should the raid message be? Is there something that would particularly wind up Worm Talon? I don't know anything about Final Fantasy, so I can't do anything about that. Anything in particular? Or something relevant to here? I don't know. The only thing I've got in my head right now is Waltz and Gromit, so no cheese Gromit? That could be it? Is that the raid message? No cheese Gromit? I think that's going to be the message. Alright. See you over there at Worm Talons, and take care everybody. See you very soon. Bye for now.